Hey friends, welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Today we're going to make a super cute summer wreath using a new deco mesh method. It is the double ruffle deco mesh method, and we're going to create this for the first time together today, friends. A materials list will be available to you in the description below if you'd like to recreate. Okay, let's dive in. Let me show you some of the supplies we'll be using. This is a 14-inch wire wreath frame from the Dollar Tree. This cute sign is also from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using 3 different color schemes of 10-inch deco mesh. We've got the black and white plaid, the lime green, and the red with white striping. And then I've grabbed a bunch of different kinds of wired ribbon that we'll review here in just a little bit. You're also going to need 18 coordinating pipe cleaners or Chanel stems, a good pair of scissors, your rotary cutter and mat if that's the way you cut your mesh, and of course your hot glue gun. Set my sign off to the side here, friends. The first thing we need to do is prep our wire wreath frame. If you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Please drop a comment below if this is your first time watching a video, or even if it's not, just let me know what state you're from. I always like to hear where all my crafty friends are at. So if you're brand spanking new to wreath making, let me just give you a little Wreath 101 here. Again, this is a 14-inch wire wreath frame from the Dollar Tree. As you can see, there are 4 wires that go around this wreath. So we'll start with the inner and just call them 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's also several crossbars. And then there are 6 sections that work all the way around your wreath. Go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun, friends. Just another quick pro tip for you here. The round signs at the Dollar Tree, regardless of season, nearly always fit perfectly and marry really nicely to their 14-inch wire wreath frame. So if you're ever in the mood to make a wreath on your own, these are great to pair together. So go ahead and grab your Chanel stems or pipe cleaners, and we need to load this wire wreath frame with our pipe cleaners so that we can then attach our deco mesh. And so the first thing we're going to do, friends, is add 1 pipe cleaner to the inner 2 bars of each section. There's 6 sections, remember, so we'll be doing this 6 times. And so you're going to just wrap your pipe cleaner around rings 1 and 2 in the center of each section between those crossbars. And what you're going to do is just find that center, doesn't have to be perfect, and give it a couple of tight twists, and then point those Chanel stems inward. So let's work our way through this wreath frame real quick, and we'll get those added into all sections. Again, wrapping your pipe cleaner around rings 1 and 2, placing 1 per section, a couple of tight twists there, and then point those guys inwards. Let's speed through this part, friends. All right, once you've added in 1 pipe cleaner per section on those inner 2 rings, now it's time to add some pipe cleaners to the outer 2 rings. So you should have 6 loaded into your wreath frame now. Let's add 2 more per section. So we're going to follow that same method, friends, but we're going to add 2 pipe cleaners to each section, this time wrapping them around rings 3 and 4, just centering them both. So each one's about 1/3 of the way through. Give it a couple of tight twists, and this time point those guys outward, away from the center of your wreath. So as you can see here, friends, and again, not looking for perfection. Nobody's going to measure, I promise. So now we've added 2 pipe cleaners or Chanel stems around rings 3 and 4, so that each one is about 1/3 of the way through those 2 crossbars. And so now we've got a total of 3 Chanel stem ties or pipe cleaner ties in this section, so we can move on to the next. We'll do one more set together here, friends, and then we'll speed through. So grab your pipe cleaner, wrap it 1/3 of the way in from your crossbar. Go ahead and wrap it around rings 3 and 4. Give it a couple of tight twists and then point those guys outwards. We'll do one more here together. That's around rings 3 and 4. Couple of tight twists and pointing outwards. Now we've added all 3 to the next section. Let's go ahead and speed through and get the rest of our pipe cleaners added in. And I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, we've got all of our pipe cleaners added into our wire wreath frame. So you should have 3 per each section, 1 in the very center of the upper 2 wires and 2 centered 1/3 of the way in on the lower 2 wires for a total of 18. Also, I wanted to let you know, if you're wanting to recreate this wreath, friends, I'm going to go ahead and leave a materials list for you in the description below so that you can have a quick shopping list if you'd like to recreate this. I'll even add a couple of my favorite suppliers that you can grab some of these materials from if you'd like to do so. And of course, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got new tutorials uploading weekly. All right, friends, if any of your pipe cleaners shifted around while you were adding in all of them to your wreath base, no worries, you can just scooch them back in place. So you'll want to just eyeball your wreath frame really quickly and make sure that every pipe cleaner is where you want it to be, and if not, scoot it where it belongs. Then go ahead and grab your glue gun, and where every pipe cleaner touches the wreath frame, you're just going to run a 1/2 inch bead of glue right over one of the points of contact. You don't need to do both, so that it's touching both the pipe cleaner and then a little bit of your wreath frame. That'll just give it some extra stability and keep it from sliding around while we make our wreath. So take a minute and add those drops of glue to each pipe cleaner here, and then I'll meet you back here. Go ahead and set this off to the side so it can have a little bit of time to dry, and we'll jump on to the next step while it's doing so. The next step of our process here, friends, is to get our sign ready. You can go ahead and cut off the hanger here. We don't need that, and just toss that away. And then we're going to flip our sign over, and we're going to add 2 mounting brackets to our sign that will help us attach it to our wreath frame. So if you are new to mounting brackets, friend, they are Wreathmaker's bestie. They are a 1x1 inch square plastic attachment for your wreath that on the front facing side has got 4 holes all the way around for you to add your pipe cleaners, floral wires, zip ties, whatever you want to use to attach your sign to your wreath. And then on the back, it's got some 3M super sticky tape that will, you know, stick to your sign. So you just press those down wherever you'd like to attach your sign. Be thinking about that when you put them down. I usually use 2, sometimes 3 if the sign's really big or heavy. Just give it a good push. They are pretty sturdy, friends, but I like to always double check everything. And so once I've added my mounting brackets, I take my glue gun and just run a quick bead of glue all the way around that guy. So part of it's touching the mounting bracket and part of it's touching my sign. Just gives you a little bit of extra stability and security. And then we'll sit that off to the side so it can be drying while we work on loading our wreath with deco mesh. If you'd like to grab some mounting squares, friends, you can. They're super cost effective. I think there's, oh my goodness, probably 100 for not many dollars, handful of dollars. I'll actually leave a link for you below, so if you need to grab some and add them to your wreath making stash, you can sure do so. I highly recommend. All right, friends, I'm going to show you something really quickly. We're actually going to try together for the first time in all my years of wreath making, a new deco mesh method. It's called the folded cruffle method. And the way I understand it, it basically completely, I wouldn't say completely, that's a slippery slope, nearly completely removes all of the concern of fraying. And if you're new to deco mesh and aren't aware yet, friends, it really likes to fray the more it's handled. So I'm excited to try this new method, and we're going to try it together today. So remember, we've got 18 ties on our wreath form here, and each chenille stem or pipe cleaner is going to get 2 folded ruffles added into it. So we've got lots of deco mesh to prep here, friends. So we've got 3 different types of 10-inch deco mesh here, friends. We're going to add the black and white checked into every single pipe cleaner, but we're going to bounce back and forth between the red and the green. So we're going to need 18 cuts of the black and white checked, 9 cuts of the green, and 9 cuts of the red. And we're going to cut these at 19 inches. You can measure them out with your tape measure or ruler if you don't have a self-healing mat. You just want 19-inch cuts. And so you're just going to roll it out, find your 19-inch mark, and then cut that off. If you don't have a self-healing mat, friends, and a rotary cutter, they are great. If you make wreaths at any sort of frequency, it lets you cut your mesh really precisely and quickly for a very cost-effective method. So this that you see is the self-healing mat. You can cut on it, nothing's going to hurt it, and it will just repair itself. And then the rotary cutter looks just like that, friends. It kind of looks like a mini pizza cutter. Very cost effective. I've had the same one for going on 2 years, so they really last a long time, and I probably make 5 wreaths a week. So I'll leave links for that for you below as well if you'd like to pick that up and add it to your toolkit. So we're going to cut 18 pieces of this deco mesh at 19 inches in length. So go ahead and grab your self-healing mat or your rotary cutter or your scissors, and go ahead and cut your 18 pieces at 19 inches in length, and then I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, hopefully you've got a mountain of 19-inch deco mesh cuts sitting beside you or in a basket beside you. Let's go ahead and create our first set of folded deco mesh cruffles. So what we're going to do, friends, set your wreath frame off to the side. You're going to take a single 19-inch piece, and you're going to fold it in on itself into thirds. So if I fold it in half, fold it in a third, and fold it in a third, okay? Then you flip it over, seam side down, and then you scrunch and gather like you normally would for a cruffle. So it's definitely folded over, everything is tucked away, and you can add your first one into your chenille stems. I'm going to start at the lower level and work my way around. You can start where you like. You're going to take your folded ruffle, open up your set of pipe cleaners into a wide V, place the center of your folded ruffle all the way down to the center of your wreath base, and then give your pipe cleaner a twist to hold it in place. And then we're going to make our second folded ruffle to add into that same spot. And again, friends, I'm going to vary back and forth between the colors here. So grab your color, fold it in on itself into thirds, making sure your edges are fairly straight. And you want to leave probably, I'd say an inch or so gap from where that backside seam is to the edge. Flip that guy over so it's seam side down. And then keeping your hand stationary just like you would for normal ruffle. Pinch and gather until that deco mesh is all bunched up in the center of your fingers. Keep a hold of that guy. Come back to where we just added in our first plaid folded ruffle. Open up those chenille stems and lay that guy right on top. All the way down at the base. Now give it a couple of tight twists to hold them both in place. And we've just added our first set, first ever on the channel, friends. I'm so excited. Double ruffle, I should say double folded ruffle, into our first set of chenille stems. Let's do one more together here, friends, and then we'll speed through. So grab your next piece of deco mesh, fold it in on itself into thirds, making sure your edges are lined up nicely. Leave an inch gap between that seam and the edge. Flip that guy over, and then scrunch and gather, scrunch and gather. Pinch that in your fingers. Move on to that next set of chenille stems or pipe cleaners. Open them up into a wide V. Place your deco mesh folded ruffle all the way down to that base. Give it a tie just to hold it in place for a minute. And now we'll alternate and come to our red here. So I'm going to fold it into a thirds, making sure my edges match up nicely. Leaving an inch or two gap where the cut edge, between the cut edge and the folded edge. Flip that guy over so the seam side is down. Scrunch and gather in the middle. And we've just created our next folded ruffle. We're going to come back right where we added that black and white, open up those pipe cleaners, press this next folded ruffle all the way down to the base, right on top of that black and white one. And now give it a couple of super tight twists. And as you can see here, friends, look how nice that's going to be once we're finished. That's going to be so thick and full. I'm excited. All right, friends, let's speed through loading our wreath base with 2 folded ruffles per pipe cleaner on both the lower and the upper levels, and then I'll meet you back here. Friends, I'd like to take a quick production pause. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time I've tried this method and I love it. It's going to make a very full base, but I do want to update the recipe here. So we've added 2 folded ruffles per pipe cleaner all around the lower level. I'm just getting ready to jump up to the upper level, and instead of adding 2 folded ruffles to every pipe cleaner on the upper level, I'm just going to add 1. This is just so thick that I feel like if we add 2, it's just going to be too much for the Dollar Tree wire wreath frame. Now, if you're using a standard work wreath frame that you've purchased from a wreath making online retailer, you could definitely do the 2 folded ruffle method on both the upper and the lower. But if you are, you know, using the Dollar Tree frame such as myself, I would recommend that you do just 1 folded ruffle per chenille stem on the upper level, or it's just going to be too full of mesh and it will be beautiful. But by the time you add your sign in, it's really not going to be seen. So it's kind of a waste of your time and deco mesh, in my opinion. Of course, proceed if you'd like, but for my purposes, I'm going to tweak the recipe a little bit for the Dollar Tree frame and add just 1 per pipe cleaner. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, we have finished loading our wreath frame with our new deco mesh method, which I have to tell you, friends, I do believe this is the fullest I have ever seen a Dollar Tree wreath frame get in all of my wreath creations with just the deco mesh. So I love, love, love this recipe. Definitely will stick with doing the 2 folded ruffles per pipe cleaner on the lower level and just one on the inner level. Look how beautifully that ties everything together, and it's not as wasteful. So I really, really like this method. So go ahead and sit your wreath base off to the side here. We're going to grab our sign. It should be nice and dry at this point. Normally when I attach signs to a Dollar Tree wreath, friends, I typically use Chanel stems because it's a simpler, less robust wreath. But with this new deco mesh method, that's not going to be the case. So instead, I'm going to use 2 floral wire ties. If you're new to my channel, floral wire ties, friends, come in a pack of heavy tensile strength cut, usually 18 inches in length floral wire ties, much more heavy duty than the rope floral wire, and it's great for attachments on really thick wreath bases. I'll make sure to leave a link for the floral wire stems so that you can grab those if you'd like to add them to your toolkit. I'm just going to take the one stem, fold it in half gently, and I'm just doing that, friends, to identify that center point. I'm going to run that through one of my mounting brackets and give it a gentle twist or two just to keep that guy in place and from getting squirrely and sliding around. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to fold it in half gently just to identify that center point. Run that through my bracket. Give it a twist or two to keep it from sliding around. It's as easy as that, friends. Because this is a round sign, I'm going to enter this smack dab in the middle here. And so working one side at a time, you're going to lay that in the center of your wreath so you know where you want it, and then take both of these wire ties and just shove them right through your wreath. You can stick them right through your deco mesh, right through. Give yourself some patience with this, friends. That deco mesh is thick. All right, once you have both of those through, rearrange them so they're in the right spot. You want them to go around at least 2 rings, preferably the inner 2 or rings 1 and 2, but not that outer. And so we'll give it a couple of more twists. And then take your wire cutters and trim off those excess bits of wire. We don't need those. And then grab your needle nose pliers, pinch those ends together, and then curl them back under and in to your wreath. That way they don't poke you or your customer or your door. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And then I like to take my glue gun, friends, and right where that floral wire meets our wreath frame, just give it a squirt of glue or 2. That'll really help hold that in place and keep it from shifting over time. I'm just going to flip this back over here, and the first thing I want to do is find those Chanel stems or pipe cleaners that are tucked up underneath our sign and just bring them forward. How cute is this turning out to be, friends? Because this is so full of deco mesh, friends, it's probably every bit of 8 inches thick. I'm going to add a bow to the upper left-hand corner and some tails to the bottom right-hand corner, and then we'll decide if we should add tails elsewhere. So let's set this guy off to the side. And I'll show you the ribbon that I grabbed here, friends. You know, I like different widths and textures. So I grabbed some 2.5 inch black and white stripe, some 2.5 inch watermelon. And then I also grabbed 1.5 inch black and white polka dot, red and white mini polka dot, and some lime green and white stripe. We'll see how much we use of all of this. I'm kind of thinking maybe just these 4, but we'll see. I'm gonna walk through this bow pretty quickly, friends. I know that bows are really tricky to make, so if you're still new to wreath making, or if you're like me and it just, you know, you need some extra guidance making your bows, I'll leave a couple of tutorial step-by-step links below in the description of this video, so you have those and you can reference those if you'd like. You're going to need a good pair of scissors, of course, and a 6-inch zip tie. You can also use a pipe cleaner or some floral wire if you prefer. All right, friends, I've made my bow. So I've got 2 loops of the black and white striped, 2 loops of the watermelon, 2 loops of the black and white polka dot, and just a button loop in the middle of the red and white. All right, I'm gonna actually, I think it's probably gonna be better to add them to a lower level set of ties just because this guy is so full. So once you have your bow ready, friends, make sure your tails and loops are going in the right direction. And then just get that tied down in with a pair of leftover pipe cleaners from where we added our deco mesh in. Make sure you get it securely attached, but don't sink it down so far that, you know, it sinks too deeply in and you can't really see that bow very well. Just fluffing out my loops here, friends. Making an X with the 2.5-inch loops here. Putting that black and white polka dot in the middle, and then of course our button in the very center. Oh my goodness, how cute is this? Very summery. It's got a little bit of a farmhouse vibe. Really, really liking what we've got going on here, guys. Next thing up is to trim our tails. I'm just going to cut them at the diagonal. You could certainly dovetail if you'd like. And of course I like to vary my lengths just a little bit for extra depth and dimension, but you can cut them as long or as short as you'd like. Would just recommend that you cut gingerly. You can always take more off if you'd like, but you sure can't put it back on. We have deco mesh on our deco mesh, guys. This is an amazing method. So happy we gave it a whirl. Okay, let me throw away my bits here and then we'll work on those tails. And because we use wired ribbon, friends, it'll mold the way you want it to. And I typically put it between my fingers, pull it up and then over, and it gives it kind of this little bump, which is really cute. Might have to trim that guy a little bit more, quite a bit more actually. Got a little carried away with watermelon ribbon. Adorable, adorable. I think I'm just going to put a set of tails down here, friends, and then that'll be it because this is just so full. I normally add ribbon tails, as you know, all the way through, sometimes singles, sometimes doubles, but this beauty is just amazingly thick, and I feel like less will be more with this gal. So that's what we're going to do. I'm out of my black and white stripes, so we're just going to use the watermelon here. And eyeball how long we need it. I'm going to guess that's about 12 inches. Let's see. Oh gosh, I was way off. That's 18 inches. Then each piece I'll cut a couple inches shorter. I'm going to do my red next. My doggy is running around upstairs because he's really quite sure I shouldn't be left unattended to make wreaths. He wishes he was down here. All right, and one more tail here, friends. So the longest again was 18 inches, and each piece that I'm reducing by a couple, 2 or 3 inches. Since I know we'll be trimming it, I don't want to waste it. So I'm just going to place one on top of the other, centering as I go. And once I've done that, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect, just fold that little ribbon stack in half. That'll help you identify your center point, and then you can put your thumb there. Pinch and pleat at that center point so it looks kind of like a big men's bow tie. Fold that into a V over your thumbs. And then find a set of pipe cleaners or chenille stems that you can add that into. Give it 2 or 3 tight spins. And then with your wire cutters or scissors, trim off the rest of that pipe cleaner. You won't need that. And then you can just take those tails, pull them away from the center of your wreath, angle cut each tail or dove cut, whatever you decided to do. And just like with our bow, friends, I like to cut them at different lengths so every ribbon peeks through and gets its turn in the spotlight. But you can trim them how you'd like. Then I'm just going to add a tiny touch of glue, just because that ribbon is satiny and I don't want it to slide. How sweet is this wreath, guys? We've got just one more step here, and that's to work our way through this wreath and trim off these remaining black pipe cleaner stems. You're welcome to add more tails in if you'd like. I just felt like this really had a good amount of beauty. So I'm going to run through here and trim these tails off. That is it, friends. We have trimmed out all of our excess bits of pipe cleaner, and look how simplistic and beautiful this is. A very cost-effective wreath to make. I really like the folded double deco mesh method. Excited to try that on a larger frame. If you enjoyed this video, friends, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my little channel to grow. And again, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got new tutorials every week. Thanks for spending time with me today, friends. Happy crafting.